April 26th, 1986. The day humanity witnessed one of its darkest hours. An invisible enemy spreading through the air, silent, odorless, and deadly. This is the story of the first 24 hours following the Chernobyl disaster, and how an ordinary night turned into a nightmare that would haunt the world for generations. 1:23 a.m. Reactor number 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explodes during a late-night safety test. Inside, the reactor core reaches over 4,000 degrees Celsius, twice the melting point of steel. The explosion rips through the roof, sending chunks of radioactive graphite and fuel sky high. The force? Equivalent to 500 tons of TNT. The reactor's 1,200-ton lid is blasted off, leaving the core exposed to the atmosphere. A lethal cloud of radioactive isotopes, iodine-131, cesium-137, and strontium-90, begin its silent invasion of the night air. Yet, in the control room, confusion reigns. The operators, in disbelief, report a minor fire. They don't yet realize the scale of what has just occurred. Leonid Toptunov, the reactor operator, stares at the blinking control panels. It can't be the reactor, he mutters. His training has taught him one thing: Soviet reactors don't explode. But this night, all training is obsolete. Within minutes, the first responders arrive. Firefighters from Pripyat, the nearby town, rush to the scene armed with water hoses, completely unaware that they're stepping into a radioactive inferno. Vasily Ignatenko, a young firefighter, recalls feeling heat radiating through his uniform. His colleague sees what looks like blue light dancing in the air, a sign of intense ionizing radiation. They don't yet know that every breath, every second spent here, is poisoning their bodies. The graphite scattered across the site, it's so radioactive that standing near it for seconds could deliver a fatal dose. Despite this, the first responders press on. By 2:30 a.m., the first responders are taken to Pripyat's hospital. Nurses wash soot from their faces, but they can't wash away the radiation. Their skin burns, their eyes bloodshot. A nurse remembers, their clothes smelled like metal. We had to bury them. The clothes, not the men yet. As the reactor burns, Pripyat sleeps. Less than 3 kilometers away, the residents, children, parents, and workers are unaware that radioactive dust is settling on their streets, parks, and homes. The wind carries radioactive iodine into their lungs, where it'll lodge itself into their thyroids. Outside, radiation levels spike to thousands of times above normal, yet no alarms sound. At 6 a.m., workers heading to their morning shifts notice something strange. A metallic taste in the air, an itch on their faces. Some see a strange and natural glow above the plant. But life carries on, for now. Pripyat wakes up to a beautiful, sunny day. Workers head to the plant, children go to school, and shoppers queue for bread. They don't know that invisible death surrounds them. In the hours following the explosion, plant officials downplay the disaster. Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatolov insists the reactor is intact, blaming the chaos on a fire in a turbine hall. Even as radiation levels surge off the charts, Soviet authorities hesitate. Evacuating Pripyat? It would mean admitting that something went horribly wrong, and that was unthinkable. Instead, officials send workers with handheld dosimeters to measure radiation. Most of their devices max out at 3.6 roentgens per hour, a safe reading. But the truth? Levels are over 15,000 roentgens per hour, enough to kill a human in minutes. It takes nearly 12 hours for officials to decide. Pripyat must be evacuated. Residents are told to pack essentials, documents, clothes, and that they'll be back in 3 days. Most leave everything behind. But the truth was different. No one would return to Pripyat. Ever. As the Soviet Union remains silent, the world begins to notice. Radiation alarms go off in Sweden, hundreds of miles away. Scientists trace the source to Chernobyl. In just 24 hours, the invisible cloud begins its journey. A journey that will contaminate land, water, and lives for centuries to come. The first 24 hours of the Chernobyl disaster were a perfect storm of bravery, denial, and devastation. Firefighters who fought in the flames would die within weeks. Families who fled Pripyat would never return, and the world would wake up to the terrifying power of nuclear energy gone wrong.